Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Reading Across Time Zones. I'm your co host, Yolanda,
And I'm Savannah.
and we're so glad that you decided to join us today. A little of context on who we are. We have been best friends for 15 years. We grew up in the same town together. And in the last year, we've decided to remain connected by reading together now that we are long distance. We decided that we would like to share our reading journey along with you guys. We have a shared calendar that Savannah and I have kept with books that we read together. We like to read at least one book together a month. And sometimes we'll do personal reads as well, just to fill in for the rest of the month in case we don't have multiple books that we want to read together. We won't be going into any in depth analysis on the books that we're reading. It's never that serious for us. We'll mostly just be telling you a little bit of background on the books that we're reading and then just give you our opinions and our thoughts on the books, what we thought about it. We do have a rating system, it's not very complex. We don't put a lot of thought into it. It's a 5-star rating system. For me, personally, I hardly ever rate anything 3 stars or below. What about you, Savannah?
Yeah, I also 3 is probably like the lowest that I give anything. Less than that, I pretty much just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I think an average book rating for me is 4 stars. It's a rating that's like, it was good to read, it was enjoyable, I really liked it. 5 stars for me, I sobbed. I cried. My mind was absolutely blown. Like, nothing can go above a 5 stars. 3 stars for me, Mm, very rare when I do give a 3 stars because most of the time, if it's not meeting my 4-star standard, I don't really finish it. But that's probably one of my downsides as a reader. So you will probably never see me rate anything below a 3, but that's just me.
And I am sort of on the flip side of that. Even if I really didn't enjoy it, um I'm going to finish it because I have to know what happens in the end. Um but I have only ever DNF'd one book, and, other than that, like, if I didn't really like it, it's probably still gonna get a 3 stars, and then we're just gonna brush past it. But yeah, 4 stars, it was good, nothing, super spectacular, but I enjoyed it, and then 5 stars, doesn't have to make me cry, I just really liked it.
So what is that one book that you DNF, Savannah?
It was such a fun age.
And
We tried reading that one together. Um, for me, I could not get past the first few chapters. It was really more of just the language that I was struggling with. I felt like the author was trying to be maybe a little too current. And so I don't know. I just really wasn't vibing with it. And then you finished it way before I did, and you you said that it wasn't a favorite of yours. And then we also had another friend say that she didn't love it. And so I was like, "Oh, thank gosh, I can not do this."
definitely not alone in that boat. That book, yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I think it was the very first audiobook that I ever listened to actually. So that's why I was able to finish it pretty quickly. I don't really remember too much on it, honestly. I just remember the backstory, which is, a black woman gets wrongfully, what's the word?
Cues?
Accused of stealing a white baby who she's actually the babysitter for. And so I think we read it back in like 2020, maybe 2021. And there was a lot of racial situations going on in America because of George Floyd. So it just seemed like a really good book to read at the time. And we also read it for Black History Month as well in February. So I did finish it. It was interesting, but it definitely wasn't my highest rated book. I think that one I definitely gave a 3. Books that I've DNF'd, I think I've really only DNF'd 2 books so far. That's Stephen King's It. I have tried, and Savannah knows it, to read that book. I don't know how many times. I have tried the audiobook, I've tried the physical book, I've tried the Kindle book, and I've made it up to page 800, and I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
me that keeps
you got
writing.
really far and you really have tried.
But I'm on 800 pages, and the whole time I'm like, "Where's the clown?" I've yet to see. This is supposed to be a horror story. This movie did numbers on me as a child, and I have everyone's backstory. I have the backstory to people's backstory. I have the backstory to the bike. Like, I have a backstory for everything. Where's the clown? I should really finish it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's where the clown's gonna come in, but that book is a love-hate relationship, questionable on if I'll ever pick it back up again. Um, so yeah, that's my kryptonite right there. Stephen King's It. The other book was something that we recently were supposed to read together called Shipped, and the same reason why Savannah didn't like Such a Fun Age, because it was too current, was kind of why I didn't like Shipped. It was one sentence. She used the word clutch, and she used it to describe her office. She said, "As far as offices go, ours is very clutch." And there was something about that that I was like, hard no. I stopped reading and I decided to read something else instead. I don't know what it is. Things that are too reminiscent of current times, like too in your face. I don't really like that personally, but
And that's
anyways,
fair. Again, we mainly read for pleasure. And so, we just really don't have to be that strict with ourselves. We're doing this for fun and we're just here for the vibes.
here for a good time, not a long time. So, anyways, you will be able to find our shared calendars on our social media pages. Just take a look for those. We will post them every month. We will be in the current month, and you'll notice that our recordings are probably in the past month or so. But if you read along with us, you'll always hear about those books in a future episode. Um, and so, and we would love for you to share your opinion as well with us all the time. We love to hear from you guys. So, on to the books that we've read. We decided to read the Throne of Glass series. And so Sarah J. Maas is publishing the ACOTAR 6 next year. Savannah and I have both read the ACOTAR
Hopefully.
series. Hopefully, TBD. We both read the ACOTAR series and we really enjoyed it. It was my first romantasy series. It was so good. I think the second and third book I binge read it in a week and together, and those are thick books. And, it was definitely a really good storyline that just took me completely out of this world, and I really enjoyed it. Those were all really good reads to me. What did you think of it, Savannah?
So I read them the year after you, and I was really struggling. Honestly, I was out of work from a car accident, and it was also my first dive into fantasy or romantasy. And so it was just a really good escape for me. I really enjoyed the world. I really enjoyed sort of like the magic concept, and I really had a great time.
It's a really good series. We definitely recommend it to a lot of people when they ask, like, "Oh, what kind of books would you recommend?" And if they're into even just a romance series, we typically recommend that along with Savannah recommending Fourth Wing. She loves Fourth Wing as well.
It's true.
Um,
I do.
so because of that, so she's dropping the sixth book, and a lot of people have said that people who have read all her series, they say that it's somehow interconnected, the Throne of Glass series, along with the Crescent Cities, and then A Court of Thorns and Roses. So we've decided, since we already read the first series, we're going to go ahead and dive into Throne of Glass, which we've heard so many good things about it, and we're so excited to read it. And there's a lot of reading orders that people constantly debate online on whether or not you should read the book of novellas, Assassin's Blade, first, whether you should read it third in the reading order, or you should read it sometimes, I've heard, even last. So
So we decided to start with Assassin's Blade, for me mainly, because a lot of people were saying that they feel like the story made more sense having read it first. A lot of additional things were explained that you might not have the full backstory on. Have you read it later in the series? And so I am not a reader who enjoys feeling very lost and confused. And so for me personally, I thought reading it would be best to have that knowledge and that little bit of a backstory so that I could more fully understand the story.
Yeah, I actually had a friend who suggested reading it. Well, she actually read it fourth, not third. I can't remember. I think she said it really worked well for her. It was such a long time ago conversation. I probably should have notated what she said, but she read it fourth, which was a hot take because no one had ever mentioned reading it fourth to me before. And then I had another friend who said she read it at the very end because she bought the bundle collection of books on Kindle, and that is just when Assassin's Blade was presented to her. And she also liked it at the end. So it just feels like Assassin's Blade is one of those where you can really read it at any point in time and it's going to be good. But, you know, at first I was like, yeah, I want to read it third when it was supposed to be, but then I agreed with Savannah. I would probably get tired of not knowing the backstory. So having read the Assassin's Blade first, now that I've read it, I'm really glad that I do have that backstory. But that might change in the future. We might reconvene and decide something differently later. So, Assassin's Blade is a little bit of background on that. It's Selena Sardothian, the kingdom's most feared assassin, serves under the Assassin's Guild and its ruthless master, Arabin Hamel, but trusts only her fellow assassin, Sam. Sent on dangerous missions across islands and deserts, she begins to defy Arabin's control and question her loyalty. In this prequel to the Throne of Glass series, a collection of 5 novellas reveals her fight for freedom, her reliance on her skills, and the perilous cost of failure. Thoughts, Savannah?
Loved it. So I did not rate this one because I felt like I could not accurately rate it without relation to the rest of the series in a way. But I really did enjoy the stories. I really enjoyed sort of learning about her character and watching the character development throughout the novellas. And I I think that it really set me up in a better position going into the rest of the series with that knowledge that I was really looking for.
Do you have a favorite novella out of the 5?
I love them all for different reasons. So, I will say I really enjoyed like the action, adventure, suspense of the first 2. And then, I really enjoyed more of the insight into her relationship with Sam and sort of watching that grow and develop in more of the last 3. And then for a favorite, I think I would probably choose one of the first 2, again, just because, I liked getting to the action and I really enjoyed, especially the healer. I really enjoyed, sort of watching her, um, learn to, grow a little, defend herself. And I cannot wait for her reappearance in the series because I just know she's coming back and she's gonna, do big things. I also really enjoyed the Pirate King. And so that did bring a question to my mind, though. Rolf is a very fascinating character to me for many reasons, but especially because of his tattoo. So, for those of you who may not have read it already, Rolf the Pirate King has a tattoo, and his tattoo allows him to be able to see the ocean and the changing um elements that are connected with that. And so it really, I mean, allowed him to become the Pirate King. And so that got me thinking, if you were to have a tattoo that allowed you a certain power or advantage, what would it be? And what would the power of the tattoo be?
And so what would your power be?
Mine, I am definitely gonna die on the first day of, the apocalypse. I'm not gonna make it, let's be so for real. But, I think that a very beneficial power would be, for especially where I live, because we do a lot of hunting, or for, some of the other, main characters in the series that we read, is, some sort of, like, scope sort of tattoo that would allow for better accuracy from whatever weapon the character was wielding. And so, it would allow them to ensure precision regardless of the weapon, regardless of distance or anything like that. It would allow them, to make sure that they hit that bullseye, so to speak.
That's a pretty good survival of the fittest type of tattoo right there. It's a good idea. I think if I were to have one, I would actually let it be like a translator for all languages. And so I'm thinking into the world of what is, I guess, the Throne of Glass world, right? There's many different characters from different areas, different languages and cultures. And so I think it would just bring a really great advantage to be able to just go ahead and understand all of them, especially with all the dialects and stuff. So that's what comes to my mind, honestly. But that is a really cool tattoo. I think that we have like a small hint on what Ralph's tattoo does, but I don't think we know like the full scope of it yet. I know that the character Selena was really curious, and so I was also very intrigued when we read about Rolf. But I also liked the healer. I'm so excited, like Savannah said, to see her again, like, completely burned it into my brain. This character has to. If it doesn't, I'll have to write a letter to the author. Like, she has to show up later on. You just really ended up liking her character. Out of all the 5 books, I actually personally really liked the desert story. Her journey through that and being able to become, like, essentially the chosen one from the desert and to be able to harness the power and really, like, gain a lot of insight into being an assassin. That's my personal favorite. And she did have a betrayal from what she thought was her best friend, which you can really see that betrayal affect her. I'm assuming what's gonna be in the future books. I just know she's gonna have trust issues, right? But, I really enjoyed the book as well. I thought it was a little hard to get into at first, but I think that was just because I was in a reading slump, and diving into a fantasy book, and it wasn't even like the beginning of a fantasy book, it was a novella, so it was kind of like a backstory, was a little bit hard, but then I got into it quickly. It was really just a couple of pages where I was like, "Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty," but at the end of the day, I ended up enjoying it, and it was a pretty good book. Vanna didn't give it a rating. I will always give everything a rating. It was a solid 4. Very entertaining, very insightful. So I enjoyed it. I can't wait to find out what the rest of the series is looking like. Some people love it enough to get it tattooed, so I'm ready to find out why that is.
I am also just really excited to continue to dive into this series and see what happens for Selena and the world.
So that was the one book that we read together at the beginning of August. The rest of the month, we ended up just reading a lot of personal choices, um, just because there really wasn't another book that we wanted to read together in the moment. So the book that I read this month as well is The Last Letter by Rebecca Yaros. Some background on that, it's in a final letter to his best friend, Beckett. Ryan reveals he didn't survive and urges him to let go of any guilt. Ryan asks Beckett to leave the army and go to Telluride to help his sister Ella, who is struggling to raise twins alone after a series of family losses. With a hidden crisis also threatening her family, Ryan pleads for Beckett to step in and support her in his place. I don't have the physical copy. I read it on my Kindle actually. And I really enjoyed this book, actually. It was such a good, fast read, like, there was never any lull for me. I was intrigued from just the description of it. I was like, "Oh, this is definitely gonna be a romance," and I love that. Um, it does have a couple of trigger warnings at the beginning and spoilers, right? I'm gonna probably spoil something for you guys, unfortunately, but, it always had me hooked, And so, not gonna lie, I kinda sniffed out from the beginning who was going to die. I'm not gonna tell you guys fully who did it, I don't wanna ruin it, but I was like, "I just have a feeling this is where it's gonna go." I love the characters. There was a lot of, um, chemistry, kind of in the beginning, kind of not really. It was definitely a love to hate kind of situation going on, but I gave it a 5, actually. I think I sobbed when I found out that I was right on who died. At the end of the day, it was really good writing, I really enjoyed it. Rebecca Yaros, this was my first book by her. I haven't read Fourth Wing unlike Savannah, but I really enjoyed her book so far. I heard that her romance novels are really good, so I definitely recommend The Last Letter.
And I have not read any of her romances yet, but I have now been shoving Yolanda to read Fourth Wing now that, she's dipped her toe into Rebecca. So
Yeah,
hopefully you
I'm
guys
gonna
will be
read it.
hearing her thoughts on that soon, and then we can talk about that one together as well.
Oh boy, my to be
And
read list is long.
oh, girl, same. But spoiler, not a spoiler, Rebecca is gonna kill somebody, y'all.
Yeah, she's kinda like the Shonda Rhimes of reading world, huh? Yeah, she
And she
sure is.
really is.
Yeah, I am excited to get into Fourth Wing at some point. Um, Savannah and I have a very long to be read list. We will always take book recommendations from anybody, and it just adds on to this ever evolving list. We might not read it immediately. We are very moody readers. It just depends on our mood, which is why sometimes you'll see that our shared calendar might change constantly, unfortunately, but we will always let you guys know. Sometimes we'll change it up to accommodate maybe like a new book that's coming out, or we also like to read by the seasons. Love us a good spooky and holiday books, right? So, what book did you read, Savannah?
So my personal choice, I had started it a while before September, but my personal choice was A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. And I absolutely had to finish it in September because I was going to meet her. And so for the book, I rated it a 4.75, which is a little unaligned with my typical rating scale, but I absolutely loved it once I got to the end. I will say going into it, I was a little unprepared. I did not realize that it was more of a speculative book. And so for the first probably 200 pages, I was so frustrated because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel like I had the full picture. And for me, I was just like, "What is happening?" But,
Yeah, you don't like
yeah,
to not know, that's for sure.
yeah. So here, let me read you guys the summary. Ricki Wilde, the rebellious daughter of a powerful Atlanta family, leaves behind her privileged life to pursue her dreams of opening a flower shop in Harlem. There, she meets a mysterious stranger who changes everything in ways she never anticipated. A Love Song for Ricki Wilde is a sweeping romance set in modern Harlem, blending passion, magic, and destiny. So I did not realize that it was legitimate magic. And
You thought it was just gonna be magical.
yeah, a magical romance.
Whimsy.
I went into this very blind, but it was recommended, so I was like, sounds great. I love it. But but yeah. So it was a little frustrating to begin, but then everything just happened so beautifully. It unfolded so well. There were a couple of plot twists and I was like, "Ah, oh my gosh." Again, sometimes like if I'm reading more of a mystery thriller, I'll actually try to figure it out. But when I'm reading something like this, I am not trying to connect all those dots. I am here again for the vibes. And so that is really what I was going with. So I did not see those coming at all. And then I was like, oh, that is so perfect. um, So yeah, that for me was a love song for Ricki Wilde. So I went to the Stafford Book Fest in Virginia where she was attending, and um I really went, for the entire book experience, and I will say I had an amazing time. There were so many authors and so many books that I wanted to explore. I definitely overspent. I think I bought 10 or 11 books. Um,
The haul was good, I will say.
yes. And the event was just a super fun day. They had a book trailer out there, and so that was my first experience with a book trailer, and doing sort of that, mobile experience. They had some amazing panels, and then the day wrapped up with a question and answer and meeting Tia. And so it was super great. I had an amazing time. I ended up being able to get my book signed and
I love
personalized.
that.
Yes, as well as purchasing a couple other pre signed copies of 7 Days in June and Audrey and Bash. Um, and so that was super duper fun. And I will say Tia is, like, one of the nicest people ever, I think. She is so, so sweet. So, when we
Yes, tell
got
us
to the
all about your
hotel.
encounter.
Yes. When we got to the hotel, we my boyfriend and I checked in, and he was hungry, so we went to go get some dinner. Well, then, we get back to the hotel, we are bringing all of our bags and stuff up, and we get into the elevator, and a woman steps in behind us, and I'm like, "There's no way that's really her." And
I
so
remember getting your text, you were like, "Ah!"
going back and forth, like, it has to be her. Who else would be here looking just like her at the hotel that we're about to do
Mhm.
this thing at tomorrow? And then I was like, no, it just, it has to be a coincidence. You can't be her. Like, that would be crazy. The probability of that happening. And so, the whole time we're in the elevator, I'm just going back and forth and back and forth in my head. And then we get to our room, we're on the same floor, we're almost right next to each other. And so we get into the room, and I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that was her." And he was like, "Yeah, I thought you knew that." And I was like, "What do you mean, yeah? How do you know
He's
it's
like,
her?"
"Yeah, of course it was. Duh, Savannah."
But so, the next day when we get to the book signing and picture portion, um, she's, done a few people in front of us, and she's been chatting with everybody, just getting a little more personal, which I love because sometimes it can be, very rigid, smile for the
Yeah.
picture and let's keep it moving. Um, but when we step up, she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's you guys from the elevator." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, sorry, we were so weird." And she was like, "Yeah, I was thinking, wow, these guys are really quiet."
It's almost like she was expecting you to say something to her, huh?
Yeah, but it was so late, and, I didn't want to be like one of those crazy people that's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't give you a moment's peace. I'm so excited to
Right.
see you. Can you sign my book and, like, let's do this
Yeah.
at 10:30 at night," right?
Yeah.
So I was like, "You know what? Even if it is her, at the end of the day, right? She's tired. We're all just trying to check into this hotel and get ready for tomorrow, so I'm not gonna push." But it was awesome that she recognized us and that, she really did still make it such a personal event. So, I had such an awesome time, attending that event as well as getting to meet her.
I love that. It sounded really nice, and it was so cool that she actually recognized you. I was like, it feels thoughtful for some reason that she actually recognized you and brought it up
Mhm.
herself, so I love that.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and, I'm not shocked that it was kinda hard. Well, I'm kinda shocked that you did like a love song for Ricki Wilde because when you were reading it in the moment, um, you were like, "Ugh, I just this is so much back and forth, going back in time and stuff." And we had this exact scenario with wrong place, wrong time. But why was it different this time?
So this time it was more of like peeks into the past, right? So you would get to see you know, little parts of the male main character's life before Ricki. And so it was interesting getting to explore him as a character more and how I okay, I'm gonna spoil it. How he, um, has, lived through all of these lifetimes of what should have been, right? Because he was originally born and came up in the Harlem Renaissance. And so, getting to sort of explore, what the clubs were like during that time and what it was like for him. He is a pianist. And so, what it was like for him, to play this scene and to, see things changing. And so, it was just really fascinating to learn more about him and to also see the changes in the world that are now so historical and so amazing. And whereas with, the other, it was a true Groundhog Day book. So our female main character in that book is trying to, prevent a murder that is committed, by her son. And so she is reliving the day of the murder over and over and over. And ultimately, I loved the end of the book.
Yeah, it
I
was
did
actually hit
not.
rated pretty high, even though you were like, "Oh, I hate this
Yeah,
book," while you were reading it.
yeah. The end, like, just the last page, maybe, I was like, "Oh my gosh." But, yeah, everything up to that point, I was like, "Why do we have to keep doing the same thing over and
Yeah,
over?"
that book
I
really made you feel probably the same frustration that the character felt waking up to the
Mhm.
exact same
Yeah.
day. It did put her into different timelines, so she would repeat the same day over multiple times, and then the next day she might wake up at a different day in the past, and so it seems like she was supposed to go into different days to kinda discover something meaningful in that day that happened, for her to kinda piece together why her son would murder that person. Um, it was painful to read. I did not enjoy it. I think that was another three-star read for me. I finished it because it was a part of what me, Savannah, and one of our other friends were reading and, gotta stay committed to it, but even the end, Savannah loved the end, and for me, I was just like, "Ah, this could have been better." Like, this could have been an email, honestly. I will never read that book again. You will not
Yeah.
see me recommend that book myself. It was just not
It
that great for me.
It was very challenging for me. I don't think that I will ever read another Groundhog Day type book again. But in the end, I won't say that I thought the entirety of the book was worth it, but in the end, to me, the ending at least was worth it. And so I did get something out of that read.
I think ever since I read that book, books that are kind of like in past timelines have been sort of a struggle. I guess I'm just scared that it's gonna be just as unpleasant as Wrong Place, Wrong Time was for me, and so that's why sometimes when there's, like, some books that are kinda like the love song for Ricki Wilde, it sounds like it has to do with past timelines and current timelines, I'm like, "Oh, boy, I don't know if I'm gonna like this," but I'll still read it, so I don't know if I'll read a love song for Ricki Wilde. Savannah spoiled it for me, can't do it anymore. I'm kidding, I'll have to read it because hopefully I will also be meeting Tia Williams at BookCon in April, and I'm really excited. I don't know if it's gonna be as personal as Savannah got to experience, that was a smaller event. It's probably and I hope it doesn't probably gonna feel manufactured like Savannah said, like, to, like, in and out, and you gotta sign, get your picture, and leave, so I'm kind of afraid it might be like that, but at the end of the day, I'm still excited to meet all of the great authors that they have lined up so far and learn more about their book and what they have coming up.
I will say, a fun l- um little tidbit that I learned about Tia is that, which was very shocking to me, right? Because she writes these beautiful romances. You know, that's what she's known for. That's pretty much what all of her books are. Her favorite thing to read is horror. Um, she
That is
said,
actually very interesting.
yeah. She said that that's almost exclusively what she reads. And so that was really interesting. You know, you put so much into yourself that's, you know, so dark and twisted and scary. And then what comes out of you is such a, you know, a
Yeah.
beautiful, like, connection between people. And yeah, that was really fascinating. So you'll have to ask her when you see her what she thought. She was currently reading Slewfoot when, I saw her, and so
Mhm.
you'll have to ask her when you see her what she thought of that one.
Yeah, I also like to dive into some horror books. I think Savannah and I like to read, I think, a pretty wide variety of books. We will read a lot of romance and romantasy mostly. That's just kind of what we like to read the majority of the time. But sometimes you'll see us read a mystery thriller. I also like to read some horror books. Can't read too much of them all the time because I'm also a scaredy cat and I will have to sleep with the lights on because just like when I have to watch a scary movie, I'll need lights on after. It's like times 10 that for a horror book because it's so detailed, right? I'm immersed into it while I'm reading. I will also throw in a nonfiction every year. I think last year I read Doctors from Hell, and now I'm reading The Elements of Marie Curie. I'm a huge Marie Curie fan. Anything having to do with the nuclear radiation world, I'm here for it. So we like to read a variety of books. What other kinds of books do you like to read, Savannah?
I I stay more, I think, in the fiction realm. So I also like a little bit of historical fiction. Um, you know, a little historical romance, but there are also some, you know, more just with the historical aspect. Like we were also reading, which we have yet to finish, but it was not a DNF. We're coming back to A Council of Dolls.
Yes.
And yeah, so I really, you know, prefer romance, romantasy, mystery, and thriller. But yeah, I like to read a pretty wide variety of those types as well. So
Yeah, I also do like historical fictions. I realize I read a lot of like World War II Holocaust books. I've read quite a few already. I really enjoyed The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and I need to dive back into that and read the next book, Chilka's Journey. I also have like The Book Thief with it, which is technically based in the Holocaust era as well. uh, Historical fiction in general. So I really like that genre too. Anything else you'd like to add, Savannah?
nope. I think that about wraps us up. Unless you guys want to see my picture with Tia because it's so cute. We'll attach a real picture if it's too blurry or glary, but
You'll also find it in our social media page. We will be posting it since Savannah
yes.
didn't post that. So we're really glad that you guys decided to sit with us and listen to the two books that we've read so far. We will be splitting it into segments. We will be posting once every 2 weeks. So right now you heard about the first two books we read in August. The next time you'll hear about the next two books that we've read. We really appreciate you joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, follow, and don't forget to respond to Savannah's tattoo question to the email below. And you can also email us any other comments and thoughts and questions if you'd like as well. We'd love to talk to you guys about it in the next episode.
And book recommendations. Don't forget, we have to keep that TBR growing.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thanks again for joining. We'll be seeing you guys in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.